Hello, my name is Thomas, and today I'll be presenting the different species I found in the three ecosystems we went to for Florida Ecology Lab: freshwater marsh, freshwater swamp, and mangroves. For the freshwater marsh, we went to the Orlando wetlands in Christmas. With over 1,650 acres of land, this wastewater treatment facility allowed us to see a large number of different birds, as well as a lot of different aquatic herbaceous plant species. One of the first of these I was able to find was Spatadoc, or Nuphar advena. These are emergent aquatic herbaceous plants common in Florida wetlands. They have these large floating leaves on the water surface and this yellow flower with a sort of half-opened appearance. They are perennial and bloom through spring and summer, and they can be used as cover and habitat for many different species, including frogs and fish. Next, we have Climate Head Vine, or Mecania scandens, a species of herbaceous vine. I was able to identify this one through their clustered white flowers that are sort of triangle-shaped, as well as their vine-like appearance. They are generally low-growing and are a perennial blooming throughout the year. They are also a larval host for the little meadowlark. Pickerelweed, or Pontederia cordata, are aquatic herbaceous wildflowers common within Florida's marshes. They have these distinctive tubular purple and bluish flowers that made identification pretty easy, as well as their long and somewhat slender leaves. Their seeds are commonly eaten by birds, including ducks, and are safe for human consumption. Next is lanceleaf arrowhead, or Sagittaria lancifolia, which are again aquatic herbaceous perennial wildflowers. They have these stalks that extend a foot past their leaves, with white three-petaled flowers. Their leaves are more slender compared to that of the broadleaf arrowhead. They are also called duck potato due to them potentially growing thick sections of stem underground. And then we have the unique alligator flag, or Thalia geniculata, which are of course herbaceous wildflowers that are perennial, blooming in the summer and fall months. I was able to identify these through their tall purple flowers that sort of droop down, as well as how their leaves had a sort of long oval shape. They are also the larval host for the Brazilian skipper butterfly. Dollarweed, or Hydrocotyledon umbellata, are a common ground-cover plant that you see growing throughout Florida, seemingly especially in gardens. They have these umbrella-like shiny green leaves that create a sort of dense mat, and they bloom throughout the year with these small white clustered flowers. Next we have Peruvian primrose willow, or Ludwigia peruviana, which is an invasive species with records dating back to 1913. They are herbaceous, perennial wildflowers that bloom in summer and fall. Identification was a little bit difficult as a lot of these willow primrose species look quite similar. I decided on this one though due to the fact that its leaves were a bit more broad and overlapping, and the fact that this species is the most invasive in Florida. Water lettuce, or Pistia stradiotis, are an aquatic herbaceous flowering species. I was able to identify this through their wavy blooming onion sort of appearance. Their native status is questioned, but regardless, they can be ecologically damaging by overgrowing and blocking water access to animals and humans alike. Okay, now we can move on to some vertebrates. We have the Anhinga, or Anhinga. They are found in both the North and South America, and identification wasn't too difficult. They have dark bodies, long pointy beaks, and their wings, which are often outstretched to dry, have some white feathers. This Anhinga is a male. A female Anhinga would have a pale brown chest area and neck. They are called the snake bird due to their appearance when swimming as they stick their head out of the water, and the water turkey as well due to their fan-like sort of tail. Then we have the purple gallinule, or Porphyrio martinica. They are also native to North and South America and have bright, almost iridescent plumage of blues, reds, and greens. They also have long green toes and feet which help them walk amongst the emergent aquatic vegetation, which includes many of the species I previously talked about. They are also quite loud, similarly to the common gallinule. Green heron, Butyrides virescens, are also found in both North and South America. They have a dark red neck, a greenish-blue back and wings, and a short stout beak. They tend to be a little bit more elusive than other herons, hiding more so in the vegetation. They are also known to use tools, essentially creating fishing lures. The great blue heron, or Ardea herodes, are mainly found in North America and are commonly seen around Florida's wetlands. They have bluish to gray plumage and are pretty tall and have a distinctive blue stripe around their head. They only weigh around 5 to 6 pounds due to their hollow bones, and like other wading birds, largely benefit from wetland conservation and restoration. The turkey vulture, Cathartus aura, are found throughout the Americas and have a pretty distinctive appearance. They have a red face in which it gets its name from, and a generally black plumage with white feathers on the underside of its wings. They use their smell for carrion detection, and their strong stomachs prevent them from getting sick from eating said carrion. They are extremely helpful for preventing disease spreading in ecosystems. The Gulf fritillary, or the Agralis incrinata, their bodies are orange with white stripes, their upper wing is orange and black, and the undersides of their wings have unique black-rimmed white spots. They use different passionflower species as larval hosts, which is why they are sometimes called the passion butterfly, and their species ranges throughout the Americas. Here we have the eastern pondhawk, or the Erythemis simplicicollis. One of the main ways I was able to identify them was their sexual dimorphism. Males, like in the right image, are a blue color with a green face, while the females are a bright green color. They are very common in Florida's wetlands and marshes, and their range is generally the eastern United States. Here's the green tree frog, or Hyla cinerea. They are generally a hue of green with a white stripe along its side. They are somewhat common in these Florida marsh areas. During their breeding season from March to October, they can lay up to 300 to 1,000 eggs in a day. So next we have freshwater swamp. These are defined by a closed canopy of different cypress and tupelo trees, and they have varying sparse amounts of herbaceous and shrub plants. Aquatic milkweed, or Asclepias perennis, are another herbaceous perennial wildflower, blooming from spring to early fall. They're the larval host for the monarch, soldier, and queen butterflies, and they're adapted to its toxic milky latex fluid. Their flowers are white and have a sort of upside-down appearance, and they have long ovalish leaves. Found lizard's tail, or Sorus cernuus, which is another herbaceous perennial wildflower that blooms during the spring and summer. Their name comes from the curved tubular shape of the flowers, but obviously I wasn't able to take a photo of them. Their leaves do have a distinctive arrowhead shape to them, and they are a common species within Florida swamps, which aided in identification. Then on to red maple, a cerebrum, which I was able to identify through the serrated maple tree-shaped leaves that have about 3 to 5 lobes, as well as their woody parts being reddish-brown. They are a perennial flowering tree that bloom in the spring and are common in Florida swamps as they like wet and acidic soil. Bald cypress, or Taxodium testicum, are deciduous conifers that get their name due to them shedding their leaves earlier than most other tree species. Compared to a pine cypress, whose leaves are more narrow and tighter to the twig, the bald cypress's leaves are more spread out and make a more traditional leaf silhouette. Another key feature is their pneumatophores, which can grow to be quite tall. False nettle, or Bommeria cylindrica, are identifiable through their sort of serrated edges and the 3 distinct veins that run through the leaf. They don't have any stinging hairs. They're another herbaceous perennial plant that are common in Florida's wetlands, and they're the larval host for the red admiral and eastern comet butterflies. Water locusts, or Glittesia aquatica, are a really unique Florida swamp species. They have all of these spikes along their branches, and in this photo they are quite red. They also have these oval compounded leaves, and they produce flat legumes with little seeds. When they grow to be quite big, these spikes will be quite obvious and present on their trunk. They're generally found in the southern United States. Carolina ash, or Fraxinus caroliniana. They are deciduous and perennial that bloom in the spring, and its leaves are identifiable through their oval shape, serrated texture, and the formation of the 3 leaves at the end of the stem. Their wood is commonly used for acoustic guitar bodies, allegedly providing a bright tone, with the wood itself being pretty easy to work with. The pygmy rattlesnake, or Cistrus malarius, are pretty common venomous snakes here throughout Florida. They are gray in color with darker gray marks on their sides. Specifically on their back, they'll have red or brown blobs. They have a very small rattle that's barely audible, and the snake itself only gets to be around 1 to 2 feet. But despite their size, they can be quite aggressive and deadly. The spotted orb weaver, or the Neoscona domiciliarum. I was able to identify this species through the red coloration on its upper legs, as well as the black stripes on its legs and abdomen. These spiders are endemic to the United States, generally living in moist, hydric, or mesic areas. They will create new webs at night, and will take back those webs down before sunrise. This is what I believe to be a luna moth caterpillar, Actius luna. Their identifying features include their pinkish red spots along its back, the sort of spiky hairs on its body, and the yellow lines that go across its segmented back. This larval stage can last a couple of months, but adult luna moths only have a lifespan of about a week, as they don't really eat anything. Their caterpillars do eat, on the other hand, consuming many types of different deciduous trees. Here we also have the striped fishing spider, or Dolomedes scriptus. It has a medium brown color with W-shaped lines on its abdomen, with stripes also go down its legs as well. These are located throughout the United States, and they're commonly found nearby bodies of water and streams. And the last ecosystem is mangroves. These are defined by a dense canopy of different mangrove trees, as well as a varying level of different herbaceous and shrub species. Here we have the white mangrove, which was definitely the most popular species we saw, in this particular mangrove at least, or Laguncularia racemosa. They're identifiable through their clustered white flowers, a lack of protruding roots, and a sort of oval-shaped leaf. They're very common in these Florida mangroves, like I said, and it's said on the back of their leaves they can have salt-excreting glands, which I've never tried before, but who knows. So here we have the red mangrove, Rhizophora mangli, which are defined by their tall prop roots that jet over the water. But unfortunately, I didn't really take any pictures of that. So what I did take a picture of was their long seeds, which is exclusive to this species of mangrove. Their seeds are viviparous, which means the seeds start sprouting roots while still attached to the branch. Here is black mangrove, Avicennia germinans, which like other Florida mangroves are long-lived evergreen perennials. Found throughout the Americas, they produce small white flowers with a yellow center. Their main mark of identification for me was these nematophores, which allow for certain gas exchange, which is especially useful during flood events. They will also excrete salt through their leaves, similarly to the white mangrove. Green buttonwood, or Conocarpus erectus. I was able to identify the species through its round, dry, reddish fruit that look like they have a sort of spiky texture to it, which is pretty dissimilar from the other trees found in this ecosystem. They are perennials that bloom in spring to early fall. Its flowers are green, clustered, and generally compact. They too are native to both North and South America. Seaside oxeye, or Borokia frutescens, are perennial shrubs that primarily bloom from spring to summer. It's another common mangrove species. Its woody appearance, the fleshy green slender leaves, and habitat range allowed me to identify it. They produce these yellow flowers that I wasn't really able to find, but they're quite attractive to pollinators, including the Gulf fritillary I previously mentioned. Then saltwort, or Batis maritama. They are herbaceous, perennial, and evergreen, bloom in white or green flowers from summer to fall. They are the larval hosts for the southern white and eastern pygmy blue butterflies. They have an interesting texture with curved leaves and are pretty low growing. These factors, plus the fact that the saltwort are common in Florida's mangroves, allowed me to identify it. So my last plant is perennial glasswort, or Salicornia ambigua, which I identified through its very unique appearance of joint stems that shoot vertically off of the woody base, which the annual glasswort doesn't have. They produce these small white yellowish flowers that seem to happen right at the joints of the stems. Here is the West Indian mangrove buckeye, or the Junonia nildi. Their dorsal wings are brown with eye spots, and their ventral wings are brown with different markings. This made identification pretty easy. They will feed on black mangrove flowers, which are also their larval hosts, and they're found throughout Florida in these coastal areas. Here's a seaside dragonlet, or the Erythroplax berenice. They're native to North and Central America, living in coastal peat marshes and mangroves. They will breed in saltwater, where the males will defend the territory. They are the only dragonfly species in the Western Hemisphere restricted to these high salinity salt marshes. For identification, they have an orange to yellow body with black stripes or markings around its head. I believe this to be a straight-banded nursery web spider, specifically due to the two tan lines across its abdomen and its overall brown appearance. Nursery web spiders will build webs that resemble tents for their eggs and are commonly seen near bodies or streams of water, especially in Florida. Thank you everybody for listening to my presentation. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.